More consumers are choosing EVs. I know I got your attention now, dealers. According to Experian's latest State of the Automotive Finance Market Report. Joining me now is with more insight on the findings is Melinda Zabritski. You've seen her here before on CBT News. She's Experian's Head of Automotive Financial Insights. Wow, what a title. She's a very important person there. So Melinda, thank you so much for joining us on the show. What is all this talk about people wanting, more people wanting EVs? I know dealers are now just turned up their computer volume and said, I got to hear this.
Well, of course, gas is still dominant. ICE is still very much dominant in the industry, but we continue to see growth in EV on the new financing side. It's quickly approaching 9%. When just a few years ago, it was 3 or 4%.
Yeah.
So adoption is growing.
So it's more than doubled, maybe even tripled, depending on what state you're in, right? So that's pretty good. Tell us about some of the other key findings from the report.
Well, overall, Q4 of last year saw a lot of stabilization. We're no longer seeing really dramatic year-over-year increases in loan amounts.
Yeah.
We still, of course, have the rate increases driving up monthly payments. But for the last part of the year, the loan amount stayed stable. For new vehicles, it was, right around 40,000, 41,000, and it came down year over year. And used loan amounts right around 26,000. So it's seeing a lot of very steady or stabilization in those loan amounts.
Yeah, sure. What is causing the lender market share to fluctuate over recent years?
Well, there's been a lot of adjustments to the industry. Of course, on the bank side, we had some banks leave, which did bring down bank market share. Also, we saw some banks tighten up, which also brought down bank share. And when the rates really started to increase last year, credit unions were a little slower to raise their rates. So their market share growth was just phenomenal.
Why are consumers opting for shorter term loans?
Well, I think the shorter term loans are caused by a couple things. One, of course, is the higher interest rates, where consumers are looking to take, if they can afford it, the shortest term possible to reduce the overall interest payments. And then the second part of that is the fact that a lot of the incentives that were out there were for shorter terms. A lot of them were for 48 months. We weren't seeing the 0% 84-month terms that we saw, several years ago.
Yeah. And were there other findings in the report that stood out to you?
Well, of course, we did see delinquency increase, which was expected as those monthly payments continue to climb. We had very low rates of delinquency during, the COVID years with the government money and funds and such. So starting to really see delinquency return back to what it was, pre-COVID. But what was nice was, other than, of course, that increased delinquency and the EV adoption, it's nice to not see anything really stand out that catches your eye. It's good to see everything remain, very stable and steady.
Right. That's what we want. Stable and steady is good, right?
Yeah. The one thing from a dealer standpoint, of course, that will impact dealers as well as impacting lenders is with those rate increases. The other thing that we continue to see is an increased influx of cash.
Oh, wow.
So on the new vehicle side, we're seeing about 20% of new vehicles paid for with cash, when normally it's around 15%. So the net impact last year in total was over 1 million fewer loans and leases that were originated had the consumers not brought cash in.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So in light of all of this that we hear about the economy, there's a lot of millionaires being made out there. Or at least people walking around with enough money to buy $60,000, $70,000 cars for cash, right?
Yes.
So very
Still
interesting.
seeing that cash.
Yeah. Melinda Zabritski, Experian's Head of Automotive Financial Insights. Thank you so much for joining us here on CBT News. And thank all of you for watching. And don't forget, you can access all of CBT's news and content and in-depth interviews on Roku and Apple TV. Thanks so much.